Good evening, everyone. Tonight is Tuesday, March 25th. It's about 7 o'clock tonight. We have a planning and zoning meeting with a public hearing and a general meeting to discuss a few items on our agenda. So without further ado, let's get right into the public hearing. The first item on the agenda is coastal site plan review number 386, floodplain prevention application number 453, also known as PL 25-26, Stone Harbor LLC at 26 Searles Road. The proposal is to construct a new detached three-car garage with a one-bedroom, 988 square foot accessory dwelling unit on the second level and perform related site development activities within regulated areas, including the installation of stormwater management and a new septic system. The 1.54 plus minus acre subject property is located on the west side of Searles Road at its intersection with Edge Hill Drive and is shown in Assessor's Map number 67 as lot 86 in the R1 zone. Gentlemen, what do we got?
This application was submitted under sections 810 and 820 of the Darien zoning regulations under our coastal site plan and flood damage prevention regulations. Steve, you noted correctly that the application is to construct a new three-car garage with a one-bedroom, 988 square foot accessory dwelling unit on the second floor of that garage. The lot size here at 26 Searles is more than 1 acre in size, so the ADU approval ends up being an administrative approval by staff. So the commission is really looking at the coastal site plan implications and flood damage implications of construction of that detached structure. The application was referred out to Joe Canis of Ty and Bond. He submitted comments for the record dated March 5th. The applicant responded to those comments on March 19th, and Mr. Canis issued a final memo dated March 24th endorsing the project. The application was also referred out to the building department. The building official, Mike Vitti, noted no issues with the application on February 27th. And lastly, it was referred out to the Darien Health Department. The Director of Health noted that it's unclear if a code-compliant septic system can be achieved, and additional information needed to be provided to the Health Department. We did touch base with the Health Department today. From what we understand, the applicant is still working through those details with the Health Department and providing some additional information relative to that. The applicant can perhaps help clarify that for us this evening. I believe Ryan Salvatore is here from Burr Salvatore Architects, the applicant's representative, to present the application.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. As mentioned, I'm Ryan Salvatore, Burr Salvatore Architects. I'm joined by my significantly older brother, Reed, who is my client, and also by Matt Kivar from DeAndrea Surveying and Engineering, and I will invite Matt to address any questions you may have around the Health Department matters, given that he's been coordinating with them. I thought what I'd do is just run through some details on the project, and then obviously answer any questions. Just some background on the site. The map you're looking at shows Searles Road toward the bottom. There is an existing house at the northern end of the site that dates from about 1901, has undergone several improvement campaigns over the past 125 years or so. Pool out here. There had been, up until 2013, 2014, another house down at the southern end of the site, and it was 2 parcels. Those were merged at that time, and the house raised. But there remains an existing driveway down here, a set of piers, and I'll show you some images of that, and a kind of opening in the stone wall that runs along Searles Road. To the west and to the south, it's surrounded by the water. The entire site lies in the flood zone, the AE 13 flood zone, and it is all on the seaward side of the limit of moderate wave action line. So requires that we build a floodproof house, and that's, floodproof building. That's one of the reasons we're here before you tonight. The proposal is to construct a new accessory dwelling unit, an accessory building down at this end of the site right here. This is the development plan. Again, I would invite Matt to come up and address the particulars here, but the gist of it is that the new building would be essentially just west of the existing driveway, and its ground floor supports a garage and storage area, upper floor the accessory dwelling space, and we'll go through the building in a bit. The entirety of the building conforms with all the zoning regulations with respect to setback and building height, etc. And then details for reference. The aerial, this is rotated, but the proposed site of the building is right here, and then you see the main house here, just for context. There's that driveway and the gate. This is as if you were standing back at the main house looking south. This is a neighboring house down there, and the water is right there. And so the building is sort of right in there, as proposed. That vestige of the original building that had been there, original house had been there, the gate and the piers, those would remain under our proposal. Looking back towards Searles Road, there's the main house. So we're looking sort of northeast here, Searles Road running along here. These two trees will remain. And then for context, the existing house, and I show that largely because we have very consciously tried to use some architectural cues from the existing house in the detailing of the proposed building. This is a rendering standing just south along Searles Road looking back toward the building. We've tried to keep its massing low along the Searles Road side, the use of a couple of dormers here, and probably the best way to describe this is using the model. I'm happy to pass it around, it's helpful. This is the elevation along Searles Road, running through here. This the driveway court conception. I should note, this model is subtly out of date. I mean, for the purposes of this discussion, it's really around the margins. This is the view, the northern elevation view from the main house. This, the western side, series of balconies wrapping around the top, covered area down below, and then back around to the southern elevation with this cantilevered balcony looking out toward the view beyond. But really trying to be sensitive. It's a stucco building. There are some masonry accents on it. Again, drawing very largely from the original house to make it feel seamless across the site. I want to highlight that the building conforms with all the FEMA technical standards. There are breakaway walls on the lower level. The lower level will be used only for garage and storage space. There's no living space down there. All of the proposed utilities, etc., are to be elevated above the minimum elevation standard. We've proposed that the condenser, for example, be located within the chimney to hide it and screen it so it's not an eyesore. An electric meter, of course, up above that elevation as well. I think at this point I'd be happy to answer any questions or turn it over to Matt. We have all of the architectural drawings for reference. Those were submitted, and be happy to take you through any more detail that you may, based on questions you may have.
Just for staff, the side yard setback is 40, right?
Side yard would be 25 in the R1 zone.
25, that's why I conform
So
there.
coming off Searles, we'll call it perpendicular to Searles 25, and then around, I'll call it the lagoon in the back, turns that 25-foot setback into a 40, a rear yard setback.
So I'm talking from the, what would be the southern point of the property. Is it 40 is the setback?
25, the southern boundary would
That's
be,
the side yard setback,
would be
right?
side
Not a
yard,
rear
yeah.
yard
That's
setback.
correct.
Just making sure that's not 40.
Some of you may recall, I don't know, Penny Glassmeyer at one point owned the property, and Penny was the person that merged the, I'll call it at the time, two lots to make it one.
Not surprising.
For a variety of reasons at the time, but that was about 20 years ago.
Is that the cam line that runs right through the middle of the stone driveway? Is that the floodplain?
The floodplain actually runs.
If you go to the other one, you
Out
can
of
see it stick out better.
I think that's the elevation 6.
Yeah,
that
that's
true?
the 6 line running right through there, and the, my recollection is, yeah, there's that dash line right there is the limit of moderate wave action line. I'm not sure where the actual flood line is, but that's arguably more meaningful from a construction technology standpoint. There we go. It's also, at that point, concurrent. There's the
The moderate wave area.
yeah, the distinction between that and the conventional flood line.
Right, but the whole, so it actually matters minimally because the entire thing's is lifted up out of the flood zone, right?
Exactly, yep.
So the base elevation is 6.8, I think, of the site, and then the building's 16.
The flood zone is 13. So yeah, the base flood is 13, minimum elevation 14. We're higher than that to accommodate.
But the spot zones on the second one is 6.8, so
Correct. Yes, around the perimeter. Yeah.
so you're effectively, your garage height is 9 feet 4 inches, something like that.
Yeah.
Wait, now what about the golf simulator on the second floor? Is that open to the public? I missed the question.
Is the golf simulator open to the public?
If you'd like it. Gotta have fun with this stuff. No, I mean, it looks pretty straightforward. You have the smart vents on the building. It's out of the flood zone. It conforms to the setbacks. What's the overall height, the height of the building? This is zoning text box, right?
29 minus 6, 24 feet round numbers.
We can
It's
go-
below the 30 though.
Right, we
But
can go-
30 permissible.
Okay, Jean, any questions on this one?
Just about the health department, yeah.
Matt, you want
Please, before we get deep into that, add anything on that?
No, that's it.
Okay, George?
Just curious about the patio, I take it that is staying, and what is that new,
It is. It's a flagstone patio.
Flagstone?
So there's obviously no rock here, too. All right, then, with that said, why don't you get into the weeds with regards to the health department and the septic and whatnot?
Matt Kivar from Rocket Andrews' office. In regards to the health department, we did receive some comments today regarding our latest submission on the 17th. And I did have email correspondence with Jovan Williams around 4:48 today, so it may not have gotten into the record, where the extra clarification that we gave him in regards to some of the test pit information, he clarified that these numbers would work based on just some conversation that we had through email. There were a few other questions that I clarified for him. I haven't received correspondence yet, just given the late hour, but it seems that the proposed system is going to work, as well as the code complying area for the existing dwelling. There's really not too many concerns.
Is there any question with regards to the existing dwelling and that septic? Because they're gonna be two totally independent septic systems,
Yes,
right?
they will.
One for each building. Can you
The
go back to the site plan on that one?
Yeah, probably like 7 or 8 cents.
ready. So yeah, we have
So if you zone in on that, it says 58-inch.
58-foot primary for the garage and the loft, and then a 90-foot code-complying potential replacement area. The existing septic from health department records is underneath the existing driveway.
So the 90-foot septic system, that's for what? That's for the new building or the old building?
It's for the existing dwelling as a potential repair area, since we're taking up some of the lot area with the proposed garage. We just need to show that we have the potential to repair should the existing system below the driveway fail.
Okay, so the septic's issue that you're dealing with is regards to the main house?
No, that's been clarified. It was in regards to both. Health department had some questions just about the test pit information, which we've since clarified today.
Okay, because I mean, it has a bathroom in it, right, the existing dwelling?
Yeah.
So it's a one flush thing, it's got a kitchen sink. How big of a septic system do you need?
It was mostly based on just the test pits. There's groundwater at the site because it's coastal property, so it just ends up needing to be quite long, even though it's fairly shallow.
Yeah,
No.
nobody wants it in the house,
Yeah.
that's for Okay, so you say
Is there an old septic system that was abandoned when they raised the old house that we have to worry about?
It's a good question, because there used to be a house there. I don't know what they did with it.
It's not on the survey anywhere. Usually we see that.
Unless
Yeah,
they,
but knowing Penny Glassmeyer, she probably ripped everything.
I would guess she may have, but I don't know for sure.
Nothing from health department records from when we inquired.
There had been a septic there, right? There's a sewer back there.
Yeah, I mean, there would have been a septic if that was a house at one point in its life, before the last one moved.
Yeah.
But they raised the house and they dug out the foundation, then no one,
Maybe they
I mean, maybe, do we need to check the building department files to make sure it was abandoned?
That would
Did
be
they
health.
close it out?
Health would have that. So as they approve the new system, certainly they, but what you said is they don't have any details on what used to be there.
No, the most we got from the records was this approximate system underneath the driveway. If there is anything else.
I mean, that's a building department issue, and health department issue, it's not the same. Those guys have to improve. Anything else, George?
No, sir.
Everyone's square? Okay, would anybody in the general public like to speak to this application? Seeing that, did we miss anything further, gentlemen? Nope, okay, with that said, I would entertain a motion to close the hearing. Jamie makes the motion, Adam makes the second, all in favor? Hearing's closed, all right, guys.
Thank you.
We'll,
Thank you.
We'll deliberate and get back to you.
Which is-
We're not deliberating tonight, right?
Well,
We'll want to skip a meeting next week.
it's safe for me
Yeah,
next
this,
week.
this is kind of a no-brainer. Oh, fast. I like your model, by the way. The guy said he got his golf simulator.
Big hole in it and shoot down through it.
Okay. Next item,
Right.
Thank you.
Next item, landfilling and regrading application number 583, also known as PL 25-27. Barak and Samantha Hussein at 81 Inwood Road, proposed to construct a new pool, terraces, and retaining walls and perform related site development activities, including regrading of the property to accommodate the improvements in installation of stormwater management. The 2.75 plus acres subject property is located on the west side of Inwood Road, approximately 1,100 feet north of its intersection with Horseshoe Road, and is shown on assessors map number 3 as lot 9 in the R2 zone. Gentlemen, what do we got?
This application was submitted in conformance with section 850 of the zoning regulations under our landfilling regrading regulations. This is a cut project. The applicant proposes to install a new pool, patios, and retaining walls that are really built into the hillside, the backyard of the property. This is in connection with this house was built in 2022. There was an EPC, Environmental Protection Commission application in connection with that, but no P&Z approval. The application was referred out to Joe Canis of Ty and Bond for comments. He submitted a memo dated March 5th. The applicant responded to Mr. Canis's comments on the 25th today, and Mr. Canis issued a final endorsement memo late this morning, which was circulated to commission members. The application was also referred out to the building department. The building official submitted an email for the record dated February 27th, noting no comment on the application, and was also referred out to the health department. The director of health issued an email dated March 13th, noting that an application would need to be submitted to the health department verifying setbacks and any grading associated with the new pool relative to the location of the septic system on the property. Ted Malone of Redness and Mead is here to present the application.
Fantastic. Here's Ted.
I'm here.
Oh, there he is. Sorry about that. He's talking behind me. Welcome, sir. Just state your name and affiliation for the record.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ted Malone, professional engineer with Redness and Mead, representing the applicant. As was just stated, the applicant is proposing to install an in-ground pool, a terrace area, patio, some site walls, and other regrading, and a drainage system. This requires land filling and regrading. There's about a net cut about 13 cubic yards to help improve water quality and mitigate the increase in runoffs. There's 2 stormwater systems being proposed. One is an infiltration, and one is a crushed stone reservoir under the pool patio area. Impervious coverage is going to increase about a little over 2,500 square feet, but we're not increasing runoff from the property. We addressed Joe Canis's comments today from Ty and Bond. Comment one basically was he wanted us to take a look at the grading between the pool and the wall terrace, which we did, and we added a few drains, and we modified the grading in that area. The second comment was if we had looked at the existing infiltration system, which we have not. The infiltration system was installed part of when the house was installed, and the building permit was closed out last summer. But we will look at it, and Joe requested that be done prior to a building permit request, which we'll do. And then the third comment was if the wall by the northern property line could be constructed on the property, and what we did is we offset the wall off the property line a few feet, and so that it could be constructed on the property. We believe that the improvements are consistent with town policies and standards, and I'm happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Thank you. The wall on the northern side or the wall on the southern side you're talking about?
Sorry.
Why'd you point that out?
Sorry, this wall here, the northern wall.
Okay. Because my question, if you could just explain this, it looks like there's a pretty steep drop off there, where it goes, I think it's a 6-foot drop from the existing house, or maybe more than that, down to the wall, all the way to the west. So that wall that's on the backside, what's that made of? It just says stone wall or boulders?
Yeah, I'm not
Boulder
sure.
retaining wall?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly.
You don't want the pool falling into the people down at the bottom of the hill on Hoyt Street.
Yeah, I don't know that the final design of the wall has been decided of what material is going to be made.
My question is like, kind of sort of how high is it gonna be, or what's it gonna be made of? Because once it hits 4 feet, it's gotta be an engineered wall, right?
Yes, right now we show the wall being a little less than 4 feet high at,
Says boulder retaining wall, what page are you looking at?
on SC2.
Okay.
So there's a top of wall of 162. These are the plans that were dated March 20th. I don't know if you're
I
looking
got
at.
it, I got it.
Okay. So
Top
we have
wall 162, bottom wall 168 pounds.
158, 85.
Right, so the wall, looks like the wall is 4.2 feet tall. 162.5 minus 158.2. That's gotta be an engineered wall, because it's no.
Yes, it's higher than 4 feet, yes.
Right. And then SE1 calls it a boulder wall. Boulder retaining wall. This is, lately I drive around town, there's a couple walls that have fallen down. There's 2 on Heights Road, there's another one, it's near the ice cream. and all these 4.5-foot walls are all tucking. I mean, that's gonna be a building department question when you get into it. But do we require a fence on top of a 4-foot wall?
That would be up to the building department, whether they're gonna require a fence on top of that.
Because the pool's got a fence around it too, right?
Well, you can have an automatic cover, so in this case, that's what they've shown is automatic cover. And whether the building department makes them put a small railing or fence on top of, I'll call it that new wall in the back. When you're sitting in the pool, you'll be looking at the wall potentially. So it'll be kind of like this, we have a wall, you look at whether there's gonna be a railing above. That details can be worked out by the building
There's
department.
likely to be a railing at the top of that wall. The top of the wall is at grade, so at grade, and then it drops down to the pool from there.
But it says the pool's 58.5 on the bottom side of the pool, which is the south side. And then it says the top of the wall is 62.5. So that means the wall is 4 feet higher than the pool. No?
Pool looks like, what would you say, Ted, 158.4?
So the,
58.5 on the bottom.
Yeah.
And
And
then it
then the
says,
top of the wall looks to vary from,
yes, the wall varies from, if you look at the southern portion, the bottom of the wall is 158.85, the top of the wall is 164. So it's higher than 4 feet, but as you go northerly,
wall is
it gets shorter.
6 inches high, and then it keeps increasing as you go further south.
the wall height gets higher. Yeah,
Higher,
because
yeah.
it's, bottom wall 68.3.
The wall's the
Depends,
highest,
I'm staring at it for like 2 weeks old.
yeah, the wall's the highest at the southern end of it, and it gradually
Decrease.
Decreases.
decreases in
164
height.
down to 160 to 159, 158.
You look at the top of the wall?
Yeah, so it goes from here,
Mhm.
and then it gets lower as it goes this way. It slopes down.
It slopes into the.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my biggest concern is the wall on the back side of the pool. Okay.
Good news, it's to be designed by others.
So designed by others, trick.
Yeah.
We used to get 18 engineers that run this in meeting, and it's designed by another guy.
Yeah, we're not structural, but we do, Brian has notes 13 through 16 regarding retaining walls on SE. On SE2.
I'm looking at all this. That's a good use.
Yep, the new SE2 is the version that just came in today, but basically the retaining wall notes, as Ted acknowledges, are notes 13 through 16. It says walls greater than 3 feet, just what you said, Steve. Designed by an engineer, and specifics have to be.
Okay, so we don't know. Then what's the northern one that Joe Canis is worried about? Where's that one?
It's this wall right here. The older plan had it up against the property line,
Okay.
and it didn't leave enough room to properly build it all on the property.
Got it.
Give it access.
George, you have any questions at this point, sir?
I'm just wondering what these corner boxes are below the southern side of the pool.
City. What are those, Ted?
I'm gonna look at it when I apologize. I'm filling in for Brian.
Oh,
And
no
so-
problem, I'm just curious, I don't see any arrow description. They are, couldn't miss them. This is why I asked.
Sounds like there might be a fire pit in the middle of that little courtyard.
Maybe, that'd be nice,
Does seem like some decorative,
Maybe planters or something.
Yeah,
Is that all
I
okay?
don't know. I apologize.
Okay, no problem, I guess.
And how tall are those things?
We don't have to go through these.
They're awesome.
Top of the wall, bottom of the wall. Those things are 6 feet tall.
yep, so you'll be sitting there in, I guess, some privacy, because you'll be surrounded by walls on 2.5 sides, 2 sides. So if you want to sit next to the pool, built, is sitting near the walls.
Okay, so this is basically the landfilling or regrading application, so we're really just worried about the cut and fill for the pool. Right, but my only concern is that you start cutting and filling in that section, you're gonna end up throwing everything down the bottom of the hill. I hate to have that waste stream. Cause that's raised up,
Wait, this way.
raised this way.
If you go out to the site, it is somewhat of a gradual slope. It's not a very steeply sloping site in the back to begin with.
What's it down here? It is a big drop, there's a huge drop, wait, it's down on this side.
So it's over here, there's the pool.
Thing.
On the western
Yeah,
side.
this would be like right in there.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah, it gets maybe a little bit back here.
Okay. Jamie, any questions, please? You good?
Okay.
Okay.
Mine is just the concern from the health department with the septic, that we don't have to do anything with that. Usually we do get some sign off, or at least
Come in and saying septic thing.
it's an additional application that follows our department. I've never seen the health department say that before. You know, they've either said it's fine, or it's something like the last application where there's just some, they can provide testimony right now to say we're in line with it. But this one says an additional application to be filed with our department to verify setbacks and site rating, so I've never seen that
Yeah, that's weird.
from the health department. That's the only reason.
It may have been a generic comment, because if you look at the location of the existing septic system on the site here, it's quite a distance from any improvements that are being made as part of this application, whether it be the terrace area or the pool. So I can't imagine that this is gonna be an issue relative to setbacks.
Yeah, I don't think the existing septic system is far away from any of the pool
Yeah.
setbacks, and I don't think there's gonna be any issues with that.
The septic was installed last year,
Yeah,
so it's a new septic system for the house that was also built last year.
yes.
So just throw in the pool. This used to drive Susan Cameron nuts.
Well, I think the reason here is, builder bought 81 and 85, both of them, and they had a decision to make. Do you just build the house and let the potential buyer decide if they want a tennis court, pool, whatever?
Right.
Or do you start building things out? And I think he said, you know what, I'll build a nice house, and then the owner can decide what they want to do. In this case, they have a lot of wetlands in the front of the property, and those are shown and delineated, and the 50-foot regulated area is also shown. So that kind of pushes everything. And then the adjacent property has their driveway that comes to the west of the pool.
Here. Right here, 1,500 gallons septic on SE2. Front house coming off the bottom of the driveway. Right here, septic tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a small septic for that big house.
So the health department just needs to sign off on the pool, just for a regular health department permit, like any other pool. They don't, why would they care about the septic system?
Just to make sure that the pool's not going where the septic is, or any of the grading work, or anything like that.
Don't touch any of
Yeah,
this.
so that's why we're comfortable in this case, because based on the plans submitted, that's not where the septic is. It's not-
There is a minimum distance between the septic and a pool, but I believe it's somewhere in the range of about 30,
Yeah,
25
or-
feet.
is it 25 feet? Yeah.
yeah, they're way past that.
Really? It's like 100 feet. Okay. You're good for now? Yep, you're good for now?
Anybody in the general public that needs to speak to this application?
Kevin? Anything else?
Where are the utilities for the pool going?
Where's the pool here and whatnot?
Yeah.
There's gotta be a pool here, that's a good question. I got it, Fred. Kevin?
I didn't see an additional propane tank. Usually you see those.
pool equipment. You see the pool equipment on there, Ted?
I do not.
I need some read.
I don't see it anywhere.
Right, let me show it. Oh, it should be on SE two, right? That's most of this stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at SC1.
That's the one I don't have much of
I mean,
anything.
you got like the cable box and the electrical transformers labeled, but I didn't see like, you gotta have a filter somewhere, right?
Yes.
What are these things?
That's the thing, I mean, SE2 does have a lot of small stuff, like you find on a survey. You know, in the upper, let's say, northwest corner,
Ted, you got SE two, what are those two boxes on the bottom of the pool? It's the southern side, they're like on an angle?
So-
Let's see.
down by 164 TP7.
Ted, the survey shows the AC units on the north side of the house and the propane tank on the south side of the house and the generator on the south side. So I would presume the pool equipment is either gonna be near the AC units on the north side, which would make sense. And that's well beyond the 35-foot side yard setback. I don't know if that's clear on the, it might not be clear on the plans you have, but on the survey, you can certainly pass it around. This shows existing conditions, 3 AC units, north side of the house, right near the garage, which would be,
Yeah, but they're not gonna put the pool here next to the AC units.
That's a hell of a
or
run.
over there by the Bilco door,
You're gonna need to put it by the propane tank. They're
or
gonna,
the propane tank is here on the south side.
Where's the propane?
where's the propane tank?
They see the generator, subsurface propane tank.
There it is, yep.
That's still a hell of a run, Chairman.
It's unclear what.
Yep.
Adam, as you noted, those two, or Steve as well, as you noted, those two small boxes at contour 164,
Yeah,
Yep,
it's, maybe that's it?
it seems far away for the filter and the heater. They're usually kinda, you gotta run the water, right, underneath it, so it's a big distance from the pool. It's underneath that big patio.
well, there's the cable box you probably.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They've got little tiny things like the cable box labeled, but not the, where the pool equipment's gonna go.
Unfortunately,
We're gonna want that.
Yeah.
We never have that. I mean, it's not like the coverage issue. It's a huge site, and the coverage doesn't come close.
Should we make it a condition of approval?
Yeah, you would just say, like with any HVAC equipment, it's not a flood issue, so here it just has to comply with setbacks. No issue with coverage. And finding a spot,
Putting it somewhere.
putting it
The
somewhere.
diagram.
Yeah, I think it's pretty, on this site, there's certainly plenty of room that's beyond
They
wetland.
don't necessarily have to bury the tank because you can't see from the street.
Yeah, there's already an underground tank, so
Right.
it's just a matter of where you want the equipment. And I guess they could always sort that out as it gets closer to the installation.
Just this, I just noticed there's on S3, there's a well
Yes,
that's
no,
pretty
yeah.
close to the pool. Is that a dry well or an abandoned well, or is that an actual house well? Is that,
no, that's an active well.
is there any, do we have any regulations? I don't think we've ever seen a pool close to a well before, so, you know, we can see that.
That would be the health department.
That's what I'm saying, is the health department aware of that well?
There's the water treatment heater. This thing is that? Where's the well?
The well is.
Yeah, the well just has to be 25 feet away from any source of contaminants, which is more than,
Doesn't look like it's 25 feet from the pool.
Oh, this is the pool here. And that's the pool.
Yeah,
Right. This could be the fire pit in the barbecue.
yeah, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
where the fire pit's gonna go. One of these has gotta be a fire pit. With a chimney. Right, don't you think so?
I would think, but.
Well,
Some days.
with a TV and
Or wireless flat screen TV.
Just that be noted to the health department application.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
certainly
there.
they'll need final approval from health with the note that, you know, there's septic, and what they show on SE3 is the construction access, instead of going
Yeah, it's going
over
right
the driveway,
well.
they have it going somewhere else, which is actually better because it's further away from the septic system. Septic system's near the driveway,
Right.
so this way the construction access further away from the driveway and arguably ripping up less of their property. And that way you don't have to worry about avoiding various elements. You just go
I'm just
right
worried about
down.
the pool water seeping into the underground as well. So once you-
So, okay.
Well, it's not much of a landfill issue, right?
No, it's not.
Well,
It says the existing well will be fenced, protected from construction traffic.
Yeah.
So that doesn't matter. You have to be filtered. Is this thing new too?
Yeah. I don't know what that is. Looks like
That's
there's a
gotta be
door.
filtered.
Looks like there's a door here, right? This thing is a door. Unless, maybe it's like a.
What's that thing, Ted?
like a
Right at the
cedar,
top,
like a gate.
on
like a fenced
SE3.
gate Door.
Right above where the tracking pad is? What's that thing? So it's just a patio off the side of the house?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what that box was.
That looks like that's your fire pit. That looks like the piece of the house.
It does.
You got a little gate right here. This is a fence gate probably. This is a retaining wall behind the fire pit. That's a fence gate.
Substitute propane tank, that's here, that's this.
Subsurface.
That's subsurface. Okay, it's a landfill regrading application, the landfilling's fine. They can build walls wherever they want, as long as it doesn't go down the hill, it is what it is. And then all the walls have to be engineered, that's the building permit. Right. And the health department, you gotta get their sign off, that's outside of their jurisdiction. So wait a minute, we can close this, right?
Yeah.
There's no reason to keep it open?
No reason to keep it open.
They can put the condition with
Yeah.
the stuff
And the health department approval prior to getting building permit.
And it's a private road, there's no access issues. Do we care about the association approving the truck traffic?
Yeah, usually what we would do in a case like this is just note that if you need association approval, but it's not a new curb cut, it's just
Great.
construction. And I know when we drove down Inwood, there were 2 or 3 houses under construction.
Great.
on.
With the white vans and all that.
Yep.
Okay. All right, with that said, we can entertain a motion to close. I asked the public, right? Public's good. All right, entertain motion to close. George makes the motion. Adam makes the second. All in favor? Good job, Ted. No problem, we missed him. Follows my lawyer. God bless his soul. Thank you, George. Over here.
What was the one thing?
McMahon.
No, I must have.
I'm sorry, retired station cop. Next up on the agenda, landfill regrading application number 584, also known as PL 25-30, Ryan and Kathleen McAllister at 90 Leroy Avenue. Proposal to construct additions and alterations to the existing single-family residence, reconfiguration of the driveway and perform related site-owned activities, including regrading the property to accommodate the improvements and installation of the stormwater management. The 0.33 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the east side of Leroy Avenue at its intersection with Shade Brook Lane and is shown on assessor's map number 17 is lot 97 in the R1/5 residential zone. Gentlemen, what do we got?
This application has also been submitted in conformance with section 850 of our regulations under landfilling and regrading. The application is to construct a new garage, a new 2-car garage on the south side of the house, a moderate addition to the back or east side of the residence with a proposed deck off the back of the house, as well as a new curb cut off of Leroy Avenue for a new circular driveway or reconfiguration of the existing driveway. The existing detached garage at the rear of the property is going to be converted to a shed, and much of the pavement associated with the current existing driveway will be converted to lawn area in front of that, we'll call it an old garage. The application was submitted, the application was referred out to Joe Canis of Ty and Bond. He submitted comments for the record dated March 24th. The applicant responded to those comments on the same date, March 24th, and Mr. Canis issued a memo this afternoon, March 25th, noting that the applicant had addressed most of his comments. There are several outstanding comments as part of his memo today, which he suggests can be addressed as conditions of approval. We have Arpita here this evening to present the application to the commission and answer any questions you may have.
Fantastic, welcome.
Thank you very much. Arpita Michal of Arpita Michal Design, here to present 19 Leroy. I believe the two conditions that we were not able to address today was the sewer and connection and the water connection lines. The surveyor reached out to the town and to the utility company, but of course it was not enough time to get that. So we will address that as a condition. The other question that came up was the use of the garage. So I did send an email confirming that that existing garage is going to be a shed. It is not going to be utilized as a garage. It will be just used as a storage shed for the future until somebody decides to do something else with it.
Okay. Now, you're increasing the lot coverage, you're right there, knocking on 20%,
Just under, yes.
right? That's smart, right? Keep going to 20%, what's your math? What else? And so the driveway is gonna get, you keep the driveway the way it is going to the garage?
No, we are actually cutting it back. So if you see here, it's kind of tough to read, but there's a line around here that in the new drawing we actually, Wayne actually carved it out, that until this point we're keeping it so that we can have some extra traffic, you know, with, my concern always is on a busy road, with landscaping, you know, and so at least the landscaping guys can pull in here while this is being used so that we are not blocking.
And then
So
where's the second curb cut gonna be for the driveway? Did that get
That's-
granted yet?
No,
Right,
that's here.
that,
You'll need DPW, because it's a public road.
right. So we can prove it contingent upon that?
Right.
Then if they don't get it, then we're toast, because there's not enough parking.
Right, you would need, it would be a very awkward way to get in and out of the garage. But based on the design I see, usually the concern Public Works has if the driveways are either too close together or there's a flare out in front of the adjacent property. So in this case, Arpita has put them as far apart as possible, and there's no flare out, I'll call it, to the property to the south. So,
I did do an informal meeting.
oh, okay, good.
To make sure that we were not going to get into trouble here. And from whatever the discussion was, I don't see a problem, but we've not presented this to them yet, formally.
Right. But you presented it to,
Tony,
what's it, with,
Anthony Tacone, Public Works, who
Yeah.
what's
works
the
on
other guy,
this.
whatever, Darren?
Darren doesn't get to the nitty gritty of reviewing street opening permits.
Right, and then the garage is what? It's a two-car garage? Is that-
yeah, it's a two-car garage over here with a mudroom addition, so this is the two-car garage over here.
Right, and you get into it from the front, right?
Yep.
And then the addition's outside of the garage?
Yes, and also in between the garage and the existing old house. So there's a mudroom that will be here, so when you come out of the garage.
Yeah, well, now we're talking.
Sorry. So there's a two-car garage and you have a mudroom and some ancillary storage space and a powder room here. And then up above is the master suite and primary suite and an office over top.
the office too close to the bedroom. Great.
You can yell out if the other person's working too late.
It's all fun and games and crazy.
Spoken like someone who is guilty of that.
Okay, so the big issue is, and we have enough parking, right? There's a two-car garage, and there's 2 cars on the outside, it's square. Okay. Any questions on this one, Jamie?
Just the outstanding issues that Joe had.
Okay, so if we get those things, and we can still close with his, because he said we had these.
Yes.
Yeah, so he said we could close conditions of approval, they were kind of minor. My only question is, the garage looks like it's non-conforming, the structure from setbacks?
Oh, the garage in the back. you mean?
Yeah, not the new one, the one in,
That's why they'll kick down
But is
Right,
it- is
yes,
it-
it is a non-conforming location. There are no changes being proposed to the garage. They're simply going to use it as storage.
don't we make them fix that at this point?
But
You're
bring it
supposed
farther
to be
in.
non-conforming, it's more conforming, but without
But
touching.
it does meet it, actually. It's an accessory structure of less than 15 feet
I was just
high.
gonna say that it is an
Yeah.
accessory
So
structure.
we would consider it like small accessory structure of less than 15 feet, like a garden shed or a small garage, can be up to 5 feet from the property line.
Oh, it's 5 feet?
Mhm.
5 feet for, again, this is a
That's
small, less than 15 feet or 1 story in height.
We know the garage is under 15 feet.
Yeah, it's pretty small. I'm surprised they got a car in there.
Yeah,
Fine, just making sure.
It is gonna be a big show.
Otherwise, no. The rest of it seems fine.
Be an ADU there someday. George?
well, we just did discuss making a little nice space, but then, at some point, money.
Sometimes you run out. Been there.
So I said, that should be an application another time if you decide in 10 years.
Exactly.
I mean, you're really maximizing the usage of this lot.
George, anything else, sir? You good? Anyone in the general public want to speak to this one, John? Check. We missing anything?
No.
Okay. Entertain a motion to close? I'll make the motion. You make a second. All in favor?
Thank you very much. This is on
Thank
record
you.
the fastest.
Good. Thank you. Keep it simple, we can get it. Right? All righty. All right, next item up for bid. Coastal site plan review number 387, flood damage prevention application number 454, also known as PL 25-37. Graham and Jennifer Foster at 10 Pratt Island. Proposed to construct and install a dock consisting of fixed ramp, pier, and platform to perform related site activities within regulated areas. The 0.73 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the east side of Pratt Island, approximately 1,150 feet southeast of its intersection with Nearwater Lane. The shown assessor's map number 55 is lot 123 in the R1 zone. So this is a legal non-conforming lot.
Yep, this application was submitted in conformance with sections 810 and 820, the Darien zoning regulations under our coastal site plan and flood damage prevention regulations. The application was referred out to Joe Canis of Ty and Bond. He submitted comments for the record dated March 24th. The applicant responded to those comments on the same day, yesterday, the 24th, and Mr. Canis issued his final memo today, this afternoon, March 25th, suggesting one condition of approval relative to final flood certification of the dock. In addition to the construction of the dock, we understand that DEEP and Army Corps of Engineers has authorized replacement and relocation of concrete steps and construction in association with the construction of the private residential boat dock. Tonight we have John Hiltz here to present the application to the commission and answer any questions you may have.
Hi.
Welcome, John.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. I'll start with the steps first. There's a set of existing steps at the seawall. They're concrete. They basically come down to a rocky part of the beach. The applicant asked as part of the original application just to move them over. DEP was fine with that. They did ask that we did not use concrete, just solid fill, but rather use either wood or steel just to have an open, non-filled structure. So that's what we did. 25 feet away from the property line to keep the setback and everything. So that's just a minor thing. As far as the dock itself goes, pier ramp and floating dock. The pier is 89 feet long. Angled ramp 36 feet, going off that to a 8x20 piling anchored floating dock. DEP and I went back and forth on this, I think 4 times in terms of where they wanted it and how they wanted it configured. Luckily, at the beginning of the process, Redness and Mead guys came out and did a very thorough survey of that whole rocky waterfront there, and they also went into the water, and literally they were wading around. It was a nice summer day and they were having a great time. So, and I actually was in pretty far as well. So, so we found some good holes with, softer bottom that we weren't afraid to utilize in terms of locating the floating dock. And that's basically where we were able to, situate the proposed floating dock as it currently is located. There's always concerns with places like this. You're going to get rough weather, you're going to get following seas, and I made it clear to the DEP I didn't want things too close to the rock outcroppings, even at any tide, simply because, engine conks out, wave hits you, puts you up on the rocks. So they understood that, and that's how we arrived at this. So, came to pass, and it's, I think it's a good design. In terms of the comments received from Ty and Bond, I didn't realize that the main thrust of those comments is really about the FEMA aspect, which I fully understand. Not a problem to get those certifications. Usually we do that anyways as part of the building department's requirements, either before or after. Usually after we do anything, so that's not an issue. Construction, barge borne primarily. The landward piling supports, as you can see, there's probably going to be 2 drilled pilings at the waterward end of the pier, and then the 4 landward supports will be basically base plate types with the steel gusseted pipes on top of those. Those are secured in place by drilled and grouted bolts. Actually, it's stainless steel thread drilled into the substrate, grouted in place with non-shrink epoxy, and then the leveling material underneath the plate, and that secures the supports themselves. Pier is prefabricated and brought to the site aboard the barge, placed atop the pilings after the caps are welded on, and then the ramp is a pre-constructed purchased product, as the float's pre-constructed, just brought into place. Usually what you do is you locate everything, the pier, ramp, and floating dock, and then you drill the piles to anchor the float in place. All the grout is done through the steel pilings, so there's no chance of water turbidity or anything like that as part of that. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. The owner, understands that, whereas this can accommodate a pretty shallow draft boat at all tides, he is going to utilize a mooring as well, just for safety purposes in the event of weather. It's the same concept as the adjacent property, which I did, I think, 15 years ago or more than that. Dock is used during the day, on the weekends, and the owner keeps their boat on a mooring when not in use, generally during the week. So there's that. Any particular questions? Anything?
So I was looking at some of the stuff, and I couldn't really tell how much land, how much water frontage you actually have based upon this.
Oh, okay.
Which is 100% wrong.
I think the general plan view is a better indicative of that.
So the pier is going here, right?
Let's see.
Yeah.
Yep, pretty much in the middle.
Pretty much that's.
You know, that point where, you know, where the seawall is kind of, the curved seawall meets the more straight seawall is basically where things go.
It runs like parallel to it, but it goes way past it.
And the other guys, after you put in 15 years ago, is 141 feet to the, what did I say, to the west?
Yeah, to the west.
And is that this guy's mooring 119 feet to the east?
Yes.
Okay. So all we're concerned about is the 4 feet on land. Everything else is out of our jurisdiction.
Which the state and Army Corps have already approved.
Right. But the steps is really our jurisdiction. That's the part that
Right, the part on the land.
Steps and I think 19 feet of the pier.
because we hang over the.
Yeah, you're beyond the mean high water. Basically the area between the mean high water line and the face of the seawall is
Right.
you guys, so.
And Canis was concerned about the steps when you said the.
No, it wasn't concerned about it. It was basically they wanted certifications regarding, basically the overall construction and the resistance to flood damage. Really, it's his concern, which is I agree with. It's in case you guys ever incur a FEMA, was it flood insurance rate mapping audit?
Right.
The FEMA comes in, they look at all your building permits, they look where they are, and they say, oh, you authorized a bunch of stuff in flood zones that you shouldn't have authorized. And that just jacks everybody's flood insurance rates right up.
Right.
That's what happens.
Okay. I get it.
Used to.
Used to.
FEMA? What's FEMA?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I can say
Yeah, if we meet again in a couple months, that may not be an issue.
it's gonna be Doge.
Yeah.
There you go. Jamie, any questions?
I'm good.
You good? You good?
Straightforward.
Yep.
What's up, Chairman?
I was gonna say, the other thing which I just realized is Westcog sent in comments dated
Yeah.
today, March 25th. Those I think made it to you from Tucker Beckett, who said it's the opinion of Westcog staff that the application is of local interest and minimal intermunicipal impact.
All right, let's kind of, thanks for playing.
I just did want to ask, does the pier actually touch the stone wall? From the several things I'm looking at, it doesn't look like it.
No,
actually touches.
we always leave a gap. If the wall falls down, the pier does, and vice versa. I mean, it's usually like a 3-inch gap or something like that.
Had a jump.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
jump over. That's cool. Anybody in the general public want to speak to this application? Seeing none, I think we're square. John's pretty good at these things, right? He's
So,
a frequent flyer pass. Anything we missed?
Nope.
Okay, entertain a motion to close. Adam's turn. Adam makes a motion, Jane makes a second. All in favor?
All right, guys. Thanks very
don't worry
much.
about it. I'm fine. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, good to see you all.
Take care, Dan.
Have a good night.
What else? Next item up for bid, mandatory referral number 2. Yes. 2025, Board of Selectmen, land acquisition, Cedric Avenue, Old Kings Highway North. Acquisition of approximately 151 plus minus square feet of property for the state of Connecticut DOT along Cedric Avenue at Old Kings Highway North. The area to be acquired is shown on Assessor's Map number 71 and generally in front of a property at 1 Cedric Avenue adjacent to the sidewalk. In our packets, we got a memo from Jen Charneski.
Yep.
Yep, from Jen Charneski, Town Administrator, who's not going to be here tonight, detailing what they wanted to do. And she also took out a piece out of the Town Planning Conservation Development detailing it. And we also have a survey plan showing the little pieces. These are things that we clean up every once in a while. Is this related to 7 Centric's development?
Not really, this
that
is independent. What happened is, these things come to the state of Connecticut DOT attention every now and then, that, oh, we realize we own a little sliver of property here. And then what they send it around to various folks, state departments, saying, does anyone want this sliver? And if all the state departments, environmental protection, whatever, say, no, we don't want it, they'll offer it to the town. In this case, it got to the town, I spoke with Ed Gentile over in Public Works. He said, look, this is area adjacent to an existing sidewalk. We probably have been maintaining it all these years anyways, thinking that we owned it. It just makes sense for us to own it.
Right.
So it's a very odd shape, it's 151 square feet, and you're correct, it will be directly adjacent to the new condominium building, which is now under construction.
Right. So are they squaring off that corner there too? I forget. Do we change your sight lines there? Okay, it's.
So what we can do is certainly, with any comments we get tonight, Fred and I can draft a report for the next meeting if you think it's a positive report consistent with the town plan.
Yes.
Love the idea.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. The more land from the state we can get, the better.
Right.
Staff, please draft a positive report approving this acquisition by the town of Darien from the state of Connecticut at whatever cost they may charge us.
This could be the tiny houses.
Got a lot of good ones tonight.
Exactly.
Thank you.
They're ready. It conforms with the town plan of conservation road for complete streets. Thank you, Jen Chernesky. All righty. Is that the end of the public hearing? Yes, it is. No, it's not. We already ended the public hearing, sorry, but that was a gentleman's hearing. All right, next item up is deliberation and possible decision on the following. Coastal site plan review number 369 B as in boy, floodstone prevention application number 428 B as in boy, landfilling and regrading application number 538A, also known as PL 25-14, William and Abigail Hausberg, I think that's right?
Yep.
At 6 Pratt Island. Proposal to raise the existing single-family residence to conform to flood regulations and construct additions and make alterations to the residence, including construction of a 2-story addition to the garage and a 1-story addition to the southeast side of the house, remove a portion of the flagstone patio in front of the residence and install a new entryway, elevate the HVAC equipment, and to perform related site development activities within regulated areas. The hearing closed on March 4th, 2025. I was absent for this meeting, but I watched it on TV 79 Vimeo or so thank you for that. And in our packets, we got a draft resolution dated today, right, March 25th. Yeah, that's today. Any questions, comments, typos, scrivener's errors on this thing, on this one? I think there was a little bit of confusion on which one we got, but I think at the end of the day, when we got it. They're raising the house, what, 6 feet to get it out of the flood zone?
That's correct.
Starting from there, and then once they get it up to, I think, 16-foot elevation,
We're doing a garage addition in front of the garage.
right? Are they redoing anything with the rock wall? Because I think part of the foundation hangs over the wall.
You're gonna have to do a little bit, obviously, because the house now sits on it, so there will be some work in that area, my understanding.
And is that being done from the water side or from the land side?
I don't remember.
No, I do not believe work is being done from the water side.
I'm Steve Bobby?
There
No.
will not be.
So there's dudes jumping in the water, fixing the wall from the land side.
Yeah, it's unclear how they're gonna sort of scale down the face of that wall to make any repairs to it. But all of that work relative to the seawalls is within the jurisdiction of Connecticut DEP.
Oh, really?
It's outside of the commission's jurisdiction.
Probably no gutter on the tap wall, that's Mr. Riley. So adamantly question them.
Did you catch anything in this resolution, George?
I did not, no.
It's all clean to you?
Yes, sir.
Jamie, any questions, comments, typos, scrivener's errors, changes, clarifications?
No, thank you.
Adam?
Nope, looks good.
You guys are easy. Back in the old days.
Yes, they're good.
Well,
Yeah.
the wrong one. I flagged that this afternoon.
This afternoon?
Apart from that minor scrivener error.
I said to you on Thursday, you should look at it Thursday night, so watching a basketball game. Not as good. Alrighty, with that said or not said, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution as submitted.
Sure.
George makes the motion. I think Adam just made the second, all in favor. That would be 4-0.
Got it.
Resolution passes. You got your new hats. All right, people. What's on the next item? Minutes, baby, minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes to go through. Let's go February 25th first. Did anybody pick up any typos, scrivener's errors, or anything on this one immediately? We talked about the Epley, proposed ADU, the first one. St. Luke's School, and we got a resolution which we can't change. Another resolution that we can't change. Talked a little bit about Pear Tree Homeowners Association. What was that all about? That was a dock across the street from the beach, which we approved. Thorndale Circle, which is a nice big fat resolution. That was approved, that we can't change. And that's it. Anything else good? No? It wasn't the approval of minutes again. I guess I can go. Okay. With that said, entertain a motion to approve as submitted. Jamie makes a motion. George makes the second. All those in favor? 4-0.
Yes.
There you go. You're doing good tonight. You actually got a win. All right, next set of minutes is March 4th, 2025. It was the leadoff one. I was at this one. Yeah, I wasn't at this one.
But you watched it.
I watched it on TV, it sure did. With the other one, right? This was when Neil went out of the box at the beginning. He gave a nice long speech with his associate Malcolm. God bless you. Put that in the minutes. And then we saw Pratt Island, which we just approved tonight, and we saw Pratt Island Deliberations were approved tonight. Questions, comments, typos, scrivener's errors on this one?
Very short minutes. Because it was a short and efficient meeting. I should note for the record, by the vice chairman.
Got nothing going on.
I guess it's relevant to ask here. I think Mr. Desai said that the survey would be up on the website a week or two ago. But last I looked, he said it'd be in the next week.
It's got to be, yeah, it came to me.
It's not on yet.
Now it's supposed to be launched April 1st.
Yes, what happened was we wanted to give it, Fred and I had some minor comments based on the meeting of the 4th. Neil made revisions, so Fred and I checked the revisions. We had some minor tweaks. We had a little conference with Neil, touched it up, and said, you know what, I want one more pair of eyes. Who do you have in mind? I said, well, Steve wasn't at the meeting. We'll have to run it by Steve. So Steve just looked at it. He's going to get us his comments. Neil's hoping, as I mentioned to Jamie before the meeting, to get something, if he's ready to go, this Friday's newsletter that goes out and associated PR, if he's ready to get it out Friday/Saturday.
It would be good to be in this week because the third Great Island closed last week, or just closed yesterday, or this weekend, so
And the DCA Thrift Shop has one going.
Keeps the momentum going as opposed to...
So,
You would respond to all these surveys?
Yeah.
Really?
and then with the theory is we can get it out this week.
Let's close the minutes. Let's close the minutes first. We need the director's report. We're good with the minutes? Good with the minutes? Good with the minutes? Okay, motion to approve the minutes. Adam makes a motion, George makes a second, George makes a second, Jamie makes a third. All in favor? Good, minutes are approved. All right. Let's deliberate on the dock and let's deliberate on the first guy. Ready? We'll do those two. Those are kind of simple. The other ones, there's some items. What's the first one? The first one was coastal site plan review number 386, flood damage prevention application number 453, also known as PL 25-26, Stone Harbor LLC at 26 Searles Road. They're building a 3-car garage at the end of the property with an accessory dwelling unit above the top. Looks pretty straightforward. Any questions or comments on this one? Any conditions?
Just include the health department stuff and the utilities and the conditions of approval.
It's a garage, so it's an accessory building, so it conforms to the accessory setbacks.
Yep.
ADU, do we even mention it? I guess we mentioned it,
Yeah.
but
It's just
Staff.
part of it, yeah, it's staff
Yeah.
approval, so we don't have to see it.
Yeah. George, anything on that one?
No, sir.
You good? Yes, sir. Thank you. Can staff write up an approval for that one?
Staff to draft.
Got it. I want to say we skipped 81 and 90 Leroy. I'd like the other commissioners to look at that before we go forward. What's the next one?
Your doc.
Yeah, the last one is coastal site plan review number 387, flood damage prevention application number 454, also known as PL 25-37, Graham and Jennifer Foster, 10 Pratt Island. Proposal to construct and install a dock, a fixed ramp pier, and platform, wait, safe activities within regulated areas. That's our jurisdiction, is only 4 feet on the landward side. It's a legal non-conforming lot, so I think you have to mention that inside the resolution, since it's in a 1 acre zone, it's 3/4 of an acre. It looks like John Hiltz did a good application, his standard stuff, he knows what's going on. I have no problem with it. Jamie, any questions?
No, just including what Joe said.
Good stuff?
Yep.
You good, George?
Yes, sir.
Larry said yes. Okay, can staff draft up an approval of that one? And let's just leave the other two for next go around when the other commission's get a chance to look at it. Okay? What else? We already talked about the land acquisition, that one's fine, we passed the other one. Okay, chairman's report. The only thing I want to just mention in the chairman's report is I think all 4 of us were on the Saturday class for continuing education.
Yeah, most of them.
Yeah, you were on for it. That's how you get your credit. For
Back
me,
then, I didn't need to be, but that's a different story.
yeah, 'cause you were a lawyer, right? For me, I actually also need this for my real estate licenses. I have 2 real estate licenses in the state of Connecticut, which is the fair housing fee at the end. The one thing I do want to comment was, for the first speaker or two, they talk about what you're supposed to do in a meeting and how to conduct the meeting and whatnot. It's very, very satisfying that every single thing that they said that we have to do, that we do.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think it's 100% credit to staff and you guys, because you taught us how to run meetings way back when. And when there's a change of staff or a change of us over on this side of the table, which is on the same side, but we still had to do it. It amazes me how, it's great to listen to it again and remind it, because I'm sure there's a lot of people on those calls or those meetings or whatever they want to call them, webinars, that have no idea about meeting, but you guys keep us in mind, so thank you for that. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. The other thing I think of note is, and maybe I'm in the minority, I'm an advocate of having things like this in person, instead of doing it online or webinars. And Jay Klein, who was one of the presenters, asked me my opinion at the end, and I said, yeah, I'd love to be in person, because we know a lot of those people that talk. I mean, I've never met Ira Bloom, but he's got a great reputation. We've seen Jay Klein, I've shaken his hand. I don't know if I ever met Amy Suchins. She seems really super intelligent and knows her stuff about this stuff, but I've never really met her. In those other meetings, it matters, and I'll land a plane in a second. The gentleman that spoke said that if it was in person, they can only have 250 people in those things. That webinar had 750 people in it. So there's a boatload of people that do it. And I don't think if there's 159 towns, right, and there's 3 people from every town, that would be 650, so there's a bazillion people on that thing. So it was great, it was very informative.
The lawyers.
Yeah. And I think the lawyers really take it, the presenters really take it serious.
Yeah, they go deep.
And they go deep into it, and they love it. It's one time I think it started to get a little bit, and not this year, 2 years ago, it got a little bit political and policy-wise. This time I think of the presenter, one person got a little bit policy-wise and not factual. But that's okay. It's 1 out of 15 people that presented. The other thing I just want to mention too is Jay Klein presented towards the end with Ira Bloom, and of his examples of best practices, I think Darien was 3 or 4 of his examples. And he gave a bunch of shout outs to Darien. I think that's I think that bodes well for our town. I think we are on the leading edge of where we're supposed to be, where we want to be, and I again credit you guys for stuff like that, because again, you guys guide the ship. The only thing that I was kind of weird, the way it came out, is they did talk a little bit about chasing moratorium points. I was surprised that someone said something like that, because they did have a list of how many moratorium points you get for whatever it is, and the Q points. I did forget that you get the .25 for the ones in the same building. Because I don't know if that's on your spreadsheet. Is it on your spreadsheet?
It is, that spreadsheet is always
Yeah.
evolving. That's the one we talked about with the commission. So it's, as projects get off the ground, whether it's at Sedgwick or Parklands, keeping track of everything.
Yeah, 'cause that's
I
something.
thought I heard them try to skirt the issue of the point system. They didn't really want to go too deep.
Yeah, they didn't go too deep into it, but they said this is how many points you get for whatever it was. I know in Westport,
Yeah.
they approve, the 830G is supposed to be 30% affordable. In Westport, and maybe even Greenwich did it a lot, they would approve 830G applications that were 20% affordable. And they made it, they approved it with the 20% affordable, because I guess it was a negotiation. You still get the 0.25 for all of the ones that are market rate.
Interesting.
So you still get stuff out of it, and then it makes the density. And Greenwich also does another thing where they have their affordable housing trust fund, lend the developer money, and then they get into the capital stack, and it changes the whole economic. But at the end of the day, I think it was a great thing, and I'm glad everyone was on it, and I got extra credit for work too. What else? I did look at a draft of the survey that was done by Neil for the first survey for the town conservation development, and I did watch the video of Neil's presentation last time. I think they're moving in the right direction. Hopefully that gets launched by the end of this week or soon.
Yep.
And we can start to get some of that hard data in there. I think that's it really, pretty much for me. If there's anything else, any questions for me, I'm always here. Next item, no, we're good? Director's report, anything, Jeremy?
Sure. Fred and I have been spending a lot of time working with Neil and his team, getting him data on population, housing. We've gone through with Neil the recommendations in the last town plan, which ones were implemented, which ones weren't. I'm going to get back to him tomorrow on that. We're just finalizing that. We approved the survey, as I mentioned, and we've helped work with Neil on setting up various meetings with not only department heads, but with boards and commissions and agencies of the town. So Neil's and his team are pretty much throughout the month of April bopping around this building various nights and days and getting full steam ahead in terms of reaching out to groups, agencies, getting feedback, getting more familiar with what's going on. So we're going to see a lot more going on.
Can I ask one question about Neil's presentation? I watched the meeting on TV and read the minutes, but where did the commission land with, didn't he talk about, there was, in the old one, there was supposed to be there could have been an implementation subcommittee?
If you notice in the POCD, there's policies and action steps. And each of the action steps has a primary and a secondary.
Yep.
So if it's keep track of public lands, maybe the primary is Conservation Commission and maybe the secondary is Darien Land Trust or whatever. And that's what Fred and I have been spending time on. But I think we had talked about an implementation committee informally. I don't think that ever got to fruition. There's pros and cons to that, of course, because one of the things we've talked about is we're writing this in 2025, 2026, but as we're doing this, the state of Connecticut, through legislation, has their own priorities for the town of Darien, which may or may not mesh with our priorities.
Right.
So we've seen that through the years, through the accomplishments and initiatives, that we have initiatives starting through the year, but of course, if the state says we now have to do X, Y, and Z, that changes. So
My only cautionary thing with that, for argument's sake, say, because in the survey it talks about bike paths and whatnot, in a town plan of conservation, we put in the statement and it says, we have to have bike paths all over town. We don't have any money. So how do you implement something we don't have any money?
That's always one of the constraints
You
that,
know, it's,
You mean it's not a high priority enough to spend money then?
yes.
Somehow they find money, right?
right. So I mean, that's the part of it, I mean, I don't think we're a sales pitch, you know, commission, where, you know, we think it'd be a great idea to do this, this, and this, and build the fourth beach, you know, but it's, if we advocate for it, which I don't think we're supposed to do, that's what we have to do. But that's my other question, I'll put
Sure.
something in there. And then if you don't mind, Fred, is there any update on Hartford for us?
Yeah, so, the bills that are being voted out of committee are being voted out now, over the past several weeks. By April 1st is kind of the drop dead date of all bills being voted out of committee. You know, once those come out of committee, there's most likely going to be a little lull in the activity at the state before they start getting taken up by, you know, the larger chambers, relative to sort of moving things around and you know, placing ideas from this bill or this bill likely into larger sort of omnibus bills that will ultimately get considered by the larger chambers. The live, work, ride bill that the town and commission submitted testimony on did in fact get voted out of committee about a week or 10 days ago.
What
So,
about fair share, what happened to fair share? And they changed the name of fair share, it's not called fair share.
yeah, I don't know that fair share has been voted out of committee yet.
These are just slang names, by the way.
Yeah,
No bill that says fair
Right.
share.
It's the group behind it that's
Right.
pushing it.
yeah.
Well, there is no fair
Wow.
share.
There's a lot of negotiations going on behind the scenes with
Bingo.
Live
Yeah.
Ride right now,
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
it was a big article
Exactly.
Yeah.
about it today,
Yeah, so we'll continue to follow what's happening there, and you know, as things get voted out of committee and sort of consolidated into these larger bills, you know, we'll continue to report back to the commission on what's happening there.
It is very hard, because it's really following the bouncing ball, and I've never been a legislator, but I've learned how to do this stuff by default. It could say one thing on Tuesday, and by the following Monday, it could say something totally different.
10 seconds before they
Yeah.
vote, something else.
The real action will be
That's
the
the
end
best
of
part.
May.
Exactly,
Right.
the frenzy.
Vote around.
And I think I missed it, but Francis Pickering was here last
It was a
Thursday?
PZ&H meeting.
Right.
It was a hybrid meeting. Well, I think it was all remote, actually. Francis ran through a litany of these bills with the PZ&H committee of the RTM. I think that's available on Channel 79. I did listen into that one, and Francis went through all these bills. He categorized them as kind of good or support to mixed bag to ones that Westcog and probably the towns do not support. And he said just what Fred said. They move at different speeds, different rates, they get combined, they get pulled apart, and it's just a never ending. But it was a good summary by Francis on many of the bills.
We may want to invite Amy Zavatakis to come in, because I think she's really following this too. And if she's got her committee, you know, doing what they're doing, and you have your knowledge, and I get a little bit from the chairmans, just to see if we're, you know, just compare notes.
The next PZ&H meeting is April 13th, it's a Thursday. At that meeting, Neil will be talking about the town plan with the committee, and I'll be presenting the P&Z budget for what it's worth.
Can you invite her to be a guest speaker for us?
Sure.
Because, I mean, she's very knowledgeable, and she's really into it. And she wants to dive into this stuff. Because, I mean, you've spoken to her, haven't you, a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But she'd love to do it.
She would. Yeah, she likes it. I mean, she's very.
Just volunteered her.
Yeah, she'd have to. Okay, upcoming meetings, April 1st, possible cancellation?
Yes.
Anybody mind if we cancel April 1st?
Yeah, it's all good. I can live with it.
Maybe Adam.
Yeah.
All right, we can have a meeting for Adam, he can be remote. All right, we'll cancel that, and then whatever's, there's only one item that was gonna be on that agenda, I know we just punted. And then April 8th, you have Wonder, or what's that
Right,
building
we have
called,
town
1897?
plan, we're gonna talk about that. And then there's 4 or 5 public hearings that night. One of them will be Wonder at the corner of Post Road and Dickinson. And then there's a number of other, hopefully uneventful public hearings.
Okay. The Wonder is, remember the building Vaccaro built, the Vaccaro family, or V20 built next to like the Norotan police station, or not fire station, so it's,
Mhm.
we were supposed to have 2 tenants in there, the tenant's not there, then they put in Wonder, we had a pre-application hearing there on it. Fred and Jeremy went to the Wonder in High Ridge Road for lunch on opening day, got a free lunch, I missed it. I went to the same place.
You're really upset about this. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you brought it up.
And
I wanted that lunch.
I went again and got it, and it was.
You're just trying to stretch us out till 9.
Yeah. No, wait, I got work to do. But it was, it's, we're waiting on a traffic statement from them, right?
That's correct.
Yes.
So that will be one of the, I'm just looking at the agenda. There's, very similar to tonight, a couple regrading applications, a dock, and
Okay.
so.
Cool. Alrighty, any other business? We're good? We already did our other business, right? Oh, actually, no, we didn't. It was on the agenda. Okay, with that said, I would entertain a motion to close. Jamie makes a motion, look at that. Adam does not. George makes a second.
Oh, if I must.
George makes a
It's
second.
9 o'clock, yes.
All right, Karen, you vote too?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Adjourned.
Yeah.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, team.